Good morning to everyone. So welcome to this session in which we will cover 5 topics of Destination 4, 5 topics which are grouped under the heading Graphene Europe in the Lead. I'm Jean-Marie Auger. I'm a project officer in DG Connect in the Disruptive and Emerging Technology unit. I will moderate this session. And the session will go as follows. I will give a brief presentation of the 5 topics in a row, and then we will have time for question and answers. Please put your questions during the presentation in Slido, and there my colleague Emilie Cléchat will manage the questions, and she will also possibly help me answering your question at the end of the presentation. So, wait, yes. Okay, so maybe before looking at the 5 topics individually, I think it's important to recall the background, the context of this call. So in short, the projects that will be selected through this call, they will be at the core of the continuation of the Graphene flagship in Horizon Europe. If you are attending this session, you know about the Graphene flagship. So probably it started in 2013, and at the time it was the 7th framework program. And then the flagship was funded throughout Horizon 2020 in a succession of grants. So now there are 2 running grants, and they will reach the end of their activities by September 2023. And that's the moment when the projects selected through this call will start. So really, as I said, they will be at the core of the continuation of the Graphene flagship in Horizon Europe. So these projects will therefore have to continue the research activities and research and innovation activities that were initiated in the Graphene flagship in Horizon 2020, and that in several application areas. So, but the overall objective is is kept like the one of the Graphene flagship. So it's to bring this graphene and 2D materials to a point where where they can be taken up and exploited by several industries. So it's really about the objective is really about establishing in Europe strong value chains in graphene and 2D materials. So that's the context. Now the call for the 5 topics will open on the 16th of June next year and will close on 16th November next year. The overall budget is 43.5 million euro. And as I said, they will continue the Graphene flagship in certain application areas. So the first one is on photonics and electronic device and systems. The second one on material device and system for energy storage or harvesting. The third one on biomedical applications, and the fourth one on 2D material-based composites, coating, and folds. And the last topic under this heading is a coordination and support action. So now let's have a look at these 5 topics. So the first one on the new generation of advanced electronic and photonic devices, systems, and sensors. So projects are expected to contribute to the following outcome. That's in the core text. So it's about new technological solution with improved performance and reduced energy consumption, providing significant advances toward the integration of 2DM technologies and the emergence of competitive value chains in graphene in Europe. So that's the expected outcome. The project should contribute. The scope is about the development of 2D material-based sensors, electronic and photonic device and systems. And there, if you look at the call text, there are mentions of possible application area of these sensors. So 4G communication, machine vision, neuromorphic circuitry, and so on. But they are all, I mean, these examples are only illustrative somehow. There is no need to, it's not a compulsory to cover these topics. So, and this developed sense, I mean, device and system should demonstrate added value compared to current technology. Well, the proposal, the call text indicates that the proposal should cover the modeling, the design, the manufacturing, and the characterization of these devices. And the proposal should also develop routes for integration and indicate plans to work with the 2D experimental pilot line. So this 2D experimental pilot line is one of the 2 grants which are currently running under Horizon 2020. It's about establishing an experimental pilot line to integrate graphene and 2D material into the semiconductor platform, existing semiconductor platform. So what we expect from the proposal is that the indicate plans how their developed devices and system could take advantage of this 2D EPA. So the indicative budget of the call is 16.5 million euro, and the EU contribution per project is the same amount. So it means that on this topic, we will select only one project. The type of action is area, and the activities are expected to reach TRL 5 by the end of the projects. Regarding the eligible countries, there is no specification, so it's EU member states and associated countries. Now, if we look at the next topic, it's 2D material-based devices and systems for energy storage and or harvesting. Here, the projects are expected to contribute at least to one of the following outcomes. So, the first one is demonstrated added value of 2D material for energy storage devices and systems in application where Europe can build competitive value chains. And the second one is a new technology solution for portable energy sources and performing alternative technologies. So project should develop, as I said, 2D based energy storage devices and systems. And here again, the call text give one example of such a system for, large energy storage for the electric grid for intermittent renewable sources. But again, that's just an illustrative example. Then the second element within the scope is the development of structural batteries and structural supercapacitors and the related production techniques. And finally, the call text mentioned within the scope, devices for energy conversions. And here again, the text mentions several possibilities of sources of energy that could be converted and harvested. So this third bullet point within the scope corresponds to also what is in the title about harvesting technologies. So here the indicative budget of the call is 9 million euro. And again, we are expecting projects of 9 million euros. So we will at the end select one project under this topic. Again, it's a research and innovation action that we are calling for, and the activities are expected to lead to a TRL 5 by the end of the projects. And no specific requirement regarding the eligible country in the work program. The third topic is about 2D material-based device and system for biomedical applications. And there, the expected outcome are a new technology solution exploiting the unique properties of 2D materials that would reduce cost and increase the efficacy of diagnostics and therapies, or provide new diagnostics or therapies for which there is currently no solution. The expected outcome is also strengthened European industry position in early diagnostic, disease prediction and prevention, disease monitoring, and also reduce the hospitalization costs and time. So that's what is mentioned in the call text. so proposal within the scope should develop devices and system building on the multifunctionality of 2D material, and of course demonstrate the advantage of these devices and systems. The text also says that the proposal should adopt a translational perspective, so explain how the technologies will be brought to the clinic. And the text also says, I mean, that there is a need probably to address properly this topic, to bring together multidisciplinary teams. So that's a kind of a requirement, implicit requirement. And of course, the proposal should address the safety aspects of these devices and systems. The indicative budget of the call is 6 million euro. Here again, we expect only to select only one project. It will be a research and innovation action. And as for the two previous topics, the TRL expected at the end of the project is TRL 5. And again, no specific requirement regarding eligibility countries. The last scientific and technology topic is about 2D material-based composites, coatings, and foams. And here the expected outcome are new multifunctional recyclable 2D materials enabling solution to environmental challenges. So within the scope, there is the development indeed of these 2D materials and technologies addressing environmental issues. And so there are also examples in the work in the call text about oil spill removal from water, water purification, water desalination, and so on. So, but again, I mean, there are many examples given of this in the call text, but they are just illustrative. Not there is no need to address all these topics. A second element in the call text is the development of lightweight recyclable composites and coatings with key functionalities. And here again, the call text mentions several of these possible functionalities. The third topic, which is in scope of this topic, is the development of metal 2D material composites enabling ultra-low friction surfaces. And finally, the development of 2D material foams for catalytic hydrogen generation and storage. Here, the budget is of the call is 9 million euro. Again, we will select only one project. This time, for this topic, the type of action is innovation action, which is related to the targeted TRL, which has to be at least 6 by the end of the project. And here again, there is no special condition on the participation of country. So if we look at these 4 topics, there are also additional specific indication in the call text. One which is rather generic, which is to include activities for further exploitation of results. That's really important. And then there is the indication that the proposal should give proper consideration to the value chain and manufacturing technologies. And the last one is about contributing to the governance and coordination of the Graphene flagship initiative. Here, this last contribution to the governance and coordination is about defining in the proposal tasks that would be not necessarily defining great details, but those tasks will be somehow the tasks that will build the interface with the other projects under the heading Graphene Europe in the lead, and also the link with the coordination and support action we will see next. So there is this requirement in the call text. The proposal should develop this, develop proposed tasks to ensure this coordination and the contribution to the governance, describe the task and set aside budget. Probably the actual definition of the content of the tasks will come at the stage of the preparation of the grant, when we will know which projects have been selected and which coordination action has been selected. So now there should be tasks about this contribution to governance and coordination, but not necessarily, described in detail. And finally, the last topic is coordination and support action, which will help the coordination of the Graphene flagship project. So, as I said initially, the different topics represent the continuation of the Graphene flagship initiative. So, compared to what was done under Horizon 2020, the implementation modality represent this new implementation modality correspond to a significant evolution of the way the Graphene flagship has been operating up until to now. So what we want to keep and preserve is indeed the strengths and coherence of the initiative. So that's essentially the main objective of this CSA under this topic. So it's to keep the mission, the vision of the Graphene flagship and its identity. So that's the expected outcome we have for this topic. It's a strong and coherent graphene and 2D material initiative. So here the proposal should develop tasks to ensure the coordination of the project selected under the heading Graphene Europe in the lead. The proposal should also provide support function that includes governance, community engagement, dissemination, communication, education and training, standardization, innovation, and roadmap activities. So on this, it's about somehow mutualizing the resources to be more efficient and effective, and ensuring that the competencies which are there in the coordination and support action will be able also, and that's where we had this mentioned in the other topics, will be also be able to find resources in the projects selected in the scientific and technological topics. The CSA should also establish or continue the interaction and coordination with the relevant national and regional initiative and projects. So here it's about continuing the fruitful dialogue which has been initiated with in particular with the network of national and regional funding agencies grouped under the FLAG-ERA ERANET. So that's an element which is really important because we want to keep what was put in place as the concept of partnering project and associated members to the Graphene flagship. So that's something we would like to continue, and that's a role of this coordination and support action. And then the last point the CSA should address is the dialogue with relevant international programs. Here we have an indicated budget of 3 million euro, and we will select one project, one CSA for that. Okay, so if you want to find more information regarding these topics, there is first this report of the consultation workshop that was made in January 2020. It's available under the first link. That's the workshop we used to write this work program. It was written with the community, so people from the member of the Graphene flagship, but also people outside of the flagship, the Graphene flagship consortium. So that's the first element, the workshop. And then there are plenty of information on the current, on the Graphene flagship website. And there you can find all the list of consortium members. You can find, the contact of the work package and deputy work package leaders. You can also find the technological and innovation roadmaps and plenty of information that which are important to look at, since, as we said, this project will build on the achievements of the Graphene flagship and continue it in Horizon Europe. And the last website is the one of the 2D experimental pilot line. Okay, so I'm done with my presentation. I think we can now move to the question and answer. I will maybe share now the Slido page. Okay, so we are still with okay, Graphene. So on the graph, that's the first question I see here. On the Graphene call in general, so if you are not involved in Graphene flagship or are a funded project, then does that mean these calls are not for you? No, it doesn't mean the call is not for you. As I said, there's an evolution now. Under Horizon 2020, indeed, we had set up a framework partnership agreement with a large consortium, and there was no call. There was just an invitation to the consortium to submit a proposal to implement the next 2 years of activities of the Graphene flagship. So that was how it was operated in Horizon 2020. You had to be in the framework partnership agreement consortium to be then in the grant, what we call specific grant agreement. Now the calls in Horizon Europe are open, so open to anyone. There is no need to have been part of the projects that were part of the Graphene flagship so far. So, simply it's for you, even if you have not been in the graphics so far. So I look at the next question. Is development of graphene-enriched polymer resin, which can be utilized in injection molding for synthesis of a plastic that is biodegradable and has enhanced mechanical, thermal, and electrical property in scope? I would say yes. Yes, that's, maybe I can ask also my colleague, Emily, she
yes, yes, so do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yes, indeed. This is the word polymer per se is not included in the text, but polymer composites are still composites, and as long as it shows enhanced mechanical or other properties and fit within the call, of course it is eligible, I would say. So the reply is yes.
Okay, thank you. So the question on all the points of the scope have to be addressed. Yeah, you see, indeed, the call text say the proposal should, and the proposal should. The way we see it is, no, there is no need to address all of them. They are all in the scope. Of course, you see that they were all identified as interesting topics during this workshop in January 2020, and they have, we have kept them all in the call text. The should not be understood as a must. It's a kind of a recommendation. Of course, having one project and the competition selected at the end, the competition will be tough. So the more topics you will cover in your proposal, probably, or if you do it convincingly, properly, well, in terms of impact, your proposal will score higher. So the answer is no, you don't have to address all of them, but of course they are all in the scope, and we select only one project which has significant funding. So if the idea is behind having only one project is indeed to avoid a fragmentation in many small projects, but putting together in one proposal things which make sense to have together, because there would be possible collaboration, synergies. That's something which will be, I think, evaluated positively. Emily, do you want to add
No, no, I think that is perfectly right. I mean, and especially, I mean, when there are the targets are a bit far away, the one from the other, it's not feasible within this budget to address all the points of the scope. So as long as you are convincingly showing that you will address one or at least several points of the scope, then it should be okay. So we don't have any more questions.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we wait.
Wait, yes, for sure. One is coming about TRL.
Aiming at TRL5 implies basic research. What are the foundations for testing implementations that may attract industry participation? Foundations. Testing. Sorry, yeah. I'm not sure I understand what are the foundations for testing implementations.
Me neither, I must say. So I'm not sure what you want to know precisely. If you could maybe rephrase it a bit.
To read TRL5 is technology validated in relevant environment. So a relevant environment is industrially relevant environment in the case of key enabling technologies. I think, I mean, in this call, we expect industry participation. So I think TRL5 is high enough to start to be interesting for industry, if I may say like this. Okay. Then there is a question. You mentioned the Graphene flagship framework agreement. Maybe it's my understanding, but did you meant you have to be in this framework if your proposal is funded? No, what I meant is under Horizon 2020, that was the way the Graphene flagship was operating. You had to be in the framework partnership agreement to be funded. Now in Horizon Europe, there is no more framework partnership agreement. So you can be in a proposal. There is no more framework partnership agreement. So
if I may complement, I think that the goal is, of course, to continue the activities of the current Graphene flagship, but it doesn't mean that necessarily you had to be part of the flagship. But since the aim is really to continue these activities, the proposal will have definitely to show the link with the current activities. And this is what we meant by continue the activities. So either you are part already of the flagship as associated members, for example, or whatsoever, or if you're not, I mean, it would be relevant that you link with at least relevant partners in your topic to show that it is still relevant for the continuation of the current activities. So, voilà.
Yeah. But I mean, so it's now really a competitive call. So there will be no indication of, I mean, eligibility condition related to the belonging to the framework partnership agreement of H 2020, for sure not. So the question on the contact with the pilot line, yes, of course. I mean, I think, yeah, contacting the coordinator of 2D pilot line is one way to understand how this work and that this connection can work. The pilot line will now also next year launch the first multi-purpose wafer run. So there's a whole side of the 2D pilot line which is open to outsider of the project. So I think that's also something to follow very closely. But contacting and discussing with the coordinator is, yeah, I mean, maybe he will not like that I say that, but that's of course a point of to start with probably. And you have a lot of information already on the website of the 2D EPL, which is part of the flagship. But I mean, as we have this experimental pilot line funded, and we want now to to fund again. Again, continue funding the development of photonic and electronic devices. We want to build on this investment on the 2D EPL. It's not about and what we say also in the text that we don't want exotic devices that cannot be scaled up and manufactured. So there is a link to explain how these devices can be brought to larger scale productions. And the experimental pilot line is for the moment, the best way to do it, to test this production of these devices and systems. Emilie?
Yes, no, I mean, I've nothing to add. No. The coordinator or the partners, I mean, sometimes this is also the case for the flagship, the other activities of the flagship. I mean, the more you interact with them, the better you will be linked with them at least, and you will know what are the activities. And alors, there is another question coming. So the closing date, no, it's November.
Yeah, closing date is 16th of November 2022. You find that, yeah. Yes, you find it.
So opening is June and closing is November.
I was looking at the page where this is indicated in the work program. Yeah, okay. Well, this is 16th of November, yeah, 22 indeed. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we will, we will close the session now. It's much ahead of time, but I hope you got the information you wanted. And
it's coming, Jean-Marie.
Okay, industrial application define the requirement for product and respective research and develop. Testing to explore the potentials for the pilot line scheme. How can we access information about the pilot line? I guess the pilot, you mean the experimental pilot line that we are talking about. At the end of my presentation, there is the link to the page describing the 2D experimental pilot line. That's, I think, a starting point to get information. And from there, you have also contact details of people you can reach. So that's what I would suggest. First, go on the web pages indicated, follow the link indicated in my presentation, and then contact the people.
I will put it in Slido right now. I think I can, or at least reply, so that you have the link. Alors. Ah no, it didn't work. Okay.
Okay. I don't know how to do that myself. But yeah, I guess the presentation will be available. How can we do that? I don't know. Okay. Emily, is there? Are there any?
No, there is no more question.
Okay, so I think we will close the session now. Thank you very much for your attention and your questions. You have also my email address on the first page of my presentation. So if you need if you have further questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I mean, if we can, we will provide the answers. Thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.